Inside these seats is extra storage as well, usually full of wine. And there's a couple of bottles of whiskey in there. I've got a wardrobe here with mirrors, so you've got a big enough wardrobe. My kilt can sit in that. I just found myself, like most of the population I would think, sitting on my couch watching Netflix. It was just boring, and I thought there's got to be more to life than this. And I thought, fuck it, I'm doing it, I'm getting a van.
Alright guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're meeting up with David, aka Scottish Man in a Van.
Let us know what you think of the video in the comments, and if you want to support the channel, give us a like and a subscribe. Back to it.
My name's David, I'm the Scottish Man in a van. I'm living in my van. It's called Skye, not because of the colour blue, but because it's named after the Isle of Skye, the beautiful Isle of Skye in Scotland. So I've been living in it for around about 15 months or so now. So far, I've been living in Scotland for most of the time. I've travelled around Scotland and know mainland Scotland pretty much like the back of my hand now, and soon to go further afield as well, which I'm really looking forward to. So I was living in a flat in Dundee with my son. My son's now 21 years old, and he moved out in the summer of 22. And when he moved out, I just found myself, like most of the population I would think, sitting on my couch watching Netflix, watching Amazon Prime most nights, or football, or whatever it might be. You know, only getting up to leave my couch to go to the kitchen and make some food or have a drink. And it was just boring, and I thought there's got to be more to life than this. And once he moved out and wanted to stand on his own 2 feet. I had money in the bank, and it was either going to go down on a mortgage for the next 20 years, a big deposit, or I was going to go and do this. And I thought, fuck it, I'm doing it, I'm getting a van. That's it. What originally made me think of van life is purely just from looking at Instagram. And I started seeing all these people living lives in vans and waking up to these beautiful views over lakes and lochs and the beaches and next to rivers, and I thought, yeah, that sounds like a bit of me. I had my son when I was quite young, so I didn't have a chance to travel like I really wanted to. I wanted to travel the world from the age of sort of 19, and I didn't do that. So I kind of feel like it's my time now. Okay, so this is Skye, my van. 2014 Fiat Ducato, long wheelbase as well. I went for that purely for not just the length, but also the height as well, so I can stand up fully inside. One essential thing for if you're driving in conditions like this in Scotland, Michelin cross climate tyres. When I got this van, originally I was going to get it all wrapped, repainted. You know, I was going to get these Rogue alloys and make it look good, and after living in it full time for about 2 weeks, I was really glad I didn't do that, because I quite like it being stealthy. There's bumps, there's dents, there's scratches, there's little chips off the paint, and it makes it really inconspicuous. So I could park up in a place like Edinburgh and go back to it, no one would even know you were there. It just looks like a work van really from the outside, unless you know what you're looking for and you see like the solar panels up there and things like that. So you've got 2 solar panels up the top there, the monocrystalline Victron. Can't remember the wattage, but they do a good job in summer, that's for sure. The cab itself is just standard. I'm only ever in there when I'm driving, really. I got this little, it's a coffee table, but also a cocktail table in the summer. But I've got that, so that just flips up and down. I've got an extension to the actual kitchen as well. When I got this van, it was already built. The only job I really did was decorating it all and kind of making it more my sort of taste, my feel. So all the woodwork, that was all grey, this was all blue. All the kitchen area was blue. So I painted it all white and wrapped all the kitchen and the swivel table that you see inside there as well. I've got a window there as well, and it's kind of semi-tinted. It's not fully tinted, but what I do have is, you know, one of the sort of covers on the inside, and I tend to just keep that up because that's just sort of blacks it out for privacy reasons. Occasionally, when I'm out in the sticks, you know, for sitting at the table, I'll take that off so I can actually see outside the window. But 9 times out of 10, if it's not raining, you know, I'll just open that side door and sit there like I just did with you guys. Certainly what I've found is this sort of style of living has definitely introduced me more to the outdoors, and it's, you know, it's suited to that, and I love it. I've started appreciating things I wouldn't have appreciated before, you know, like a river or hearing birds or whatever it might be. I think I'm just growing up at last. Yeah, so this is the garage. It's really quite large. I've usually got a lot more stuff in here. I've usually got a lot more wild camping, but I'm obviously down here meeting you guys and going hiking in the Lake District. So I've just brought my hiking gear with me for this trip, and some firewood and things like that in case I decide to cook on a fire. But inside the actual garage itself, I've got a 125 litre water tank, which lasts me probably a couple of weeks. I don't tend to shower very often in the van, so it does last a long time. On the other side, I've just got some drawers with some tools and bits and pieces so I can repair things on the road. And behind that, although you can't see it, I've got a battery bank of 4 lithium LifePo batteries, and they're actually under, which is perfect for this type of weather, there's actually heating pads under them. So there's a thermostat linked to them, so if it drops to a certain temperature, those heating pads will automatically come on and keep those lithium batteries at the optimum temperature for working. And then you've got your split charge and your solar and my inverter in there as well. These batteries, they're just incredible. I've parked up for 5 nights before, completely still, not turned the engine on at all, used chargers, watched my projector, watching football, whatever it might be. And they've gone down to maybe about 30%, and you can empty them, 10% they say, but you can pretty much empty them and they're absolutely fine. This is the access to my water tank. So yeah, as you can see, there's nothing on that side, but it is really stealthy. It does just look like a normal sort of van. I mean, there's been a massive change to my life, absolutely massive. I wouldn't give it up for anything, really. It surprised me how much I've actually taken to it and how much I've enjoyed it, really. It's a totally different way of living, it's a different pace of life as well. But being able to wake up next to a beautiful loch in the Highlands in Scotland, and watch a sunrise in the morning, you can't beat that. I wouldn't get that on my couch back in the flat that I was living in Dundee before, not a chance, so it can't compare. This life's only really possible for me with the work that I do, to be perfectly honest. I'm self-employed and I work at sea, I work offshore around about 3 to 3.5 months a year. So I'm able to travel the rest of the time. So I'm actually traveling for basically 3/4 of the year now, and it simply wouldn't be possible for me personally. I know a lot of people will work remotely and things of that nature, and can do that and live in a van. I don't have that skill set, I don't have that sort of job experience, if you like. So being able to stretch any money out that I do make over a long period of time to allow me to travel, that's how I've managed to support myself to do this. Because although you're not spending money on bills and things like that, traditional household bills and energy bills and things, it still costs quite a lot to keep a van on the road. And obviously the cost of diesel and everything else, if you really want to go for it and not sit still, you're gonna have to, put a bit of fuel in the tank really to go and see all these beautiful places. This life is definitely accessible to everyone. You've just got to go and do it. If it's something that you want to do, then you've got to try and make it happen. Whether you build one yourself or you do what I did and purchase one that was already built. I went down that route, but it is accessible, especially since COVID. I found, a lot of people that I meet on the road that are doing van life, their whole sort of work-life relationship, changed through COVID and beyond, because they were having to go to an office every day pre-COVID, and now they don't have to go to an office every day and they can work from home and do those things. There's no reason why you couldn't do that, working from your van, as long as you've got a signal and a decent sort of mobile Wi-Fi router to use with your SIM card, really. There's no reason why anyone can't do it. Well, I decided to purchase Skye from a previous owner. It was a young couple. They'd travelled around Europe in this van for a year and visited 17 countries. When I was deciding whether or not to build one myself or purchase one, it was purely down to the fact that I wanted one quickly. I'd made my mind up. I had the money in the bank and I wanted one quickly, but I also wanted one, I felt it was good to get one that was also tried and tested. So any little snags or anything that could have possibly gone wrong have already been fixed. And I found that worked well for me. But it's just the overall build and everything that they've done. It's all handmade, but it's fully off-grid. And that's exactly what I was looking for. I don't even have the option to plug in for electric. It's completely off-grid, and it needed to have the capabilities that I needed and tick all these boxes, and this van did that really. So another reason probably why I didn't build my own is just, other than time, is having a space to do it. I was living in a 3rd floor flat in the middle of Dundee, in a city in Scotland. So where am I going to do that? I didn't really know anyone that had a big enough workshop to keep a van in it and things like that. Okay, so let's come inside. I've just got a curtain here separating this from the cab, which is quite handy. You can jump in and out of there. It's a bit of a struggle for me at my age, but loads of bits and pieces up here. I've got some jumpers, jackets, you know, microfiber towels. It's really, really handy. Nice little bookshelf here. Some books that I read. It's full now. You can see like just bits of artwork that I put up. I've got to have a Highland coup. You know, it is Scotland. I'm Scottish at the end of the day. Inside these seats is extra storage as well. It's a bit of a mess right now, but it's usually full of wine. And there's a couple of bottles of whiskey in there and some sparkling water and bits and pieces. I sometimes put my washing in there as well. I've also got a max air fan here. So that'll blow air both in and out, which is ideal having it out the way, especially when you're cooking and you've got condensation and things of that nature as well. You want all of that out. You don't want it getting into your walls and into your sort of, you know, insulation and things like that. Yeah, I've got these lights here as well. It's just great at night. It just gives it a whole new dynamic, and it just gives it that sort of cozy, homely feel. And this is also where my projector screen is as well. So my projector screen would just come up there, and I've just got hooks, and it's perfect for at night. You can get the lights on and get Netflix on. You've got the swivel table here as well. That's all really lightweight. This is exactly where I'll eat my dinner, yeah. And this swivels out, so it's quite handy for someone else to sit at the other side as well when I do have friends, or we go away for a weekend or something like that. But yeah, this is where all the food gets consumed. Or I might sit and read a book and just look out, you know, at a view or something like that, or have my morning coffee here. And the kitchen here as well, quite like how this extends. So you've got the 2 hob burners, and then this clips up and extends, so you've got a nice little area for chopping veg and prepping your food and things like that. Obviously you're just your standard sort of kitchen drawers, and another sort of pantry drawer that pops out. Just your usual really. Top tips for the van, right, first of all, hook and loop Velcro. If you want things like this and to decorate, you want all these things here to stay put, hook and loop Velcro will do that. If you don't do that, they're just going to go all over the place. These do stay pretty well, but what I did find was they will pop out. And I remember hearing a crash bang and a wallop through here one day when I was driving up in the Highlands, and I thought, what's that? And I came back here and there was just dry spaghetti and rice all over the floor. I thought, for fuck's sake. Took it ages to clean up. So what I did do was I just put these little locks on as well, just as a little bit extra. Yeah, so kitchen here, one cool thing I really like, you've got all these like little magnet spices. I love my cooking. Got my olive oil, my balsamic, salt and pepper. Nice big sink as well, with your pump, which has got sort of 2 modes. And I heard a lot of people when I was researching vans that they wish their sinks were bigger, you know, for doing dishes and things like that, but that's a massive sink. And it also comes in handy as a mini bath to wash my hair as well, because it's a lot easier than going and having a shower. I can wash my hair and then do the hobo wash and, you know, use baby wipes for the rest or something like that. Obviously I don't have an oven, but what I do have is what's called an Omnia oven. It's like a sort of circular oven, but you can bake bread in that, you can make lasagna in that, you can make stews, you can make anything in it. Underneath the sink, you won't be able to see, I've just got cleaning stuff, and then there's a boiler under there. So the boiler takes approximately 15 minutes to heat the water to 40 degrees, and that would give you a 10-minute shower. I never use that for washing dishes, I just boil a kettle if I need hot water for the dishes. This side, I have just some more bits and pieces for cleaning. But there's a cupboard in there with a gas tank as well, which obviously the gas for the cooker. That gets filled up from the outside with an LPG pump at a gas station. And that cost me, I think the last time I filled it up, pretty much from empty, it cost me about £7. And that'll last me anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks. And that's with cooking in the van almost every day. So this is my guitarlele. It's a ukulele, but with 6 strings tuned like you would a guitar. So that comes out occasionally. Wardrobe. One of the things I really like about the van as well is there's a lot of storage in the seats, but I've got a wardrobe here with mirrors, so you've got a big enough wardrobe. My kilt can sit in that, my toiletries and bits and pieces can all sit in that as well. Some people have a full wet room, shower room, toilet room and things like that. I actually did consider that, taking that part, putting it there, but I didn't want to get rid of the seating really. I've only got the two. Inside this seats, I've got a small composting toilet. I originally had a chemical toilet, but after about a month of living in a van full time, I was like, nah, I'm not doing this anymore. The smell when you open that seat of the chemicals and things like that, because everything's mixed and all the chemicals, it was horrendous, such a small space. And finding a chemical waste disposal point, you know, every 2 or 3 days was just, nah, not for me. So I researched composting toilets. The popular ones, they're like $1,000 and they're a lot bigger. So I found this German company and they just do these smaller ones and they're only like a couple of £100 really. And it's ideal, just suits me perfectly. You don't need to empty it every now and, you know, all the time or anything. And you can pretty much get rid of it everywhere as well because it's being compost properly and it's all being separated. In that seat, if you take the toilet out, I've got a shower mat in there and there's a drain plug in there. And then my shower curtain will just hook up onto these 4 hooks. And I've got this little suction cup, you know, shower head holder. The tap here, that would just come off and I've got a shower head which goes up there and then you can have a full shower. In the summer it's great as well because I can take that off and put it outside the van and then I can have the shower head go out there and take my shower mat outside and just have a shower outside. One of my favourite parts of this van, without a doubt, like I said earlier, I like cooking but I like eating more, is my fridge because it's massive for a van. It's a huge big fridge, as you can see, and a really good sized freezer as well. And if I'm on the road and I'm you know, up in the middle of nowhere for, you know, a week or 2 weeks at a time, it's good just to be able to stock up, fill up the fridge. So the bed, this for me is probably one of the most important factors if you're going to live in a van full time, is having a very comfortable bed. It's just like a 6-inch IKEA mattress, which is sufficient, but living in Scotland, it is cold at times, especially in the winter. So I spent quite a bit of money getting a really thick mattress topper and a really thick, heavy duvet. I think it's a Tog 14. And these teddy bear sort of sheets are just an absolute godsend. I can sleep in that with no heating on when it's -10 outside. And I tend to sleep naked. So I can do that in the winter, no problem at all, with no heating or whatever. I do have a little remote control for the heater at my bed as well. So before I get up in the morning, I can put that on and it will automatically heat the van up to that temperature that I've got it set at. I've got a skylight up here as well, which is great if you're especially in the north of Scotland. When you're up and you can look at the stars and all the rest of it. One of the things I really like is the fact that the back door swings open as well. When I was up in a place called Thurso on the North Coast 500 there in November, we got an incredible Northern Lights display. It lasted 3 hours. I only went outside to do a pee and then went, oh my God, what the fuck? And then, so watched that for a while and then it went absolutely crazy. So I just came in here, I'd been outside for a while, just came in here, sat in my bed and watched the Northern Lights out the back of my bed for about 45 minutes. Just absolute bliss. So the storage here for, like, you know, just kitchen stuff, some bits and pieces, food, snacks, and then, oh, another top tip actually, little storage bag type things to keep your stuff in. They've been a massive help because I used to just put pants, socks, and everything just laying down. But as soon as you drive anywhere, as soon as you open that, they're just all over the bed. That one's empty. They were both full to the brim really, but it's funny, once you start sort of getting into a routine in that, you realise half the clothes you don't even wear, you never even touch them when you're living in the van. Yeah, so I've also got a little bit of artwork just above where I sleep. That's a lovely painting of Glencoe, which is my favourite area in Scotland. It's absolutely gorgeous. If anyone ever comes to Scotland or goes to Scotland, make sure Glencoe's on your list because it's just stunning. I think the favourite thing for me about living this kind of life is just the freedom that you get from it. It's the most liberating thing that I've ever done. And like I mentioned earlier, I've always wanted to travel and it's taken me to places I probably wouldn't have seen. You know, I was just 41 years old when I got this van and I'd hardly seen any of Scotland, never mind anywhere else. You know, I've seen the Northern Lights up north in Scotland and you know, woken up with some tremendous views and brilliant weather, sitting out here having breakfast with just an incredible scene and mountains in the distance. It's also driven me to get into hiking as well, which is something I took up in April last year. I'm addicted to that now, which is a good way to keep fit as you get older, I reckon, as well. As for my least favourite thing about living in a van, that's a really difficult question to answer. I think a lot of people would find it challenging to live in such a small space. I quite like it personally, but I think that would be a little bit of a challenge. I think the worst thing is you're just constantly cleaning. Like when you're in a van, it's such a small space, you're just constantly sweeping up the floor, you're constantly touching up the paintwork, you know, on the woodwork, because it gets marked very, very easily and you accidentally kick it. I bang my head off the cupboards above my bed quite often when I'm sitting watching something on my projector. I think one of the most difficult things for me at first, probably for the first 3 months actually, was understanding that this is actually my life now. This is my home. You know, like I would go to the gym in the morning or something like that if I was near home, near Dundee. I would go to the gym in the morning, then you go back into your van and you go, right, where am I going now? And it's like, I've nowhere to go. This is actually my home. It was mentally, took a little while to get used to that, and to also realise that when I was driving and visiting all these beautiful places around Scotland, that I wasn't on holiday all the time. I found that quite challenging, to sort of not eat and drink constantly like you're on holiday. But just mentally adjusting to it, I think that was probably the hardest part. I think one of the things that it's really taught me at the age I'm at, 42, I think when I first moved into the van, quite possibly some of my friends thought, you know, what the fuck are you doing? You're going to go and live in a van? No way. And it's funny how it's changed over the sort of months from that, and it's sort of changed now, like, oh, you lucky bastard. I wish I could do that. I think for me mentally, it's just been great. I think it's taught me that you can do whatever you want to do really, and just don't pay attention to the people that try and put you down and say, what are you doing that for? You know, because people are scared of change and people are scared of things that are different, human beings in general. And I think I just don't give a shit anymore. I think that's really hit home. It probably started when I was 41, but I really just don't care what people think now. And I think living in a van gives you that freedom to sort of embrace that mindset, probably a little bit more than normal. I think I see myself living in a van for a number of years really. I don't see it being a short-term thing, especially now after living in it for 15 months. I felt that I had a window of opportunity here to take advantage of this lifestyle. You know, with my son being 21, he's completely self-sufficient. He's actually backpacking around Southeast Asia at the moment, enjoying his life and doing his travels that I didn't get to do, the wee shite. My mum and dad are both sort of 70 years old now and stuff like that. So I just felt that there's a window of opportunity here, and how long that lasts, who knows, really. But I'm not putting a time scale on it. I won't put a time scale on it. I've had mortgages and I've rented properties and all that kind. I've done all that, been there and done it. And none of it made me happy. So I think, yeah, this sort of life is for me, really. When I say that I'm living in a van, most people respond to it pretty positively, to be honest. And I think just in general, in society, and you see it everywhere, I think people are just fed up. People are fed up with the cost of living, and people are fed up with the house prices and not being able to get mortgages and things like that. And it's so difficult for young people now. I think a lot of people are looking at alternative lifestyles as an option to consider, certainly, whether that's in a van or any other sort of alternative way of living, really. And I think people are generally looking for that. So no, I don't think I've had a negative response at all. I think it's all been positive, really, when I've told people that. Well, listen, thanks for your time, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video and hearing about my journey of van life. If you want to follow me on Instagram or TikTok, it's just @ScottishManInAVan. And if there's any business inquiries, it's scottishmaninavan@gmail.com. Thank you.
All Alright guys, thanks for watching and hope you enjoyed that video. Thanks to David for meeting up with us and sharing his story.
Make sure to check him out on all the links below for his social medias. And if you want to see more content like this, give us a sub. See you in the next video.